This is the plaintiff, Francis Jackson. He says the defendant, his stepdaughter, owes him for an outstanding cell phone bill. And daughter or no daughter, he wants and needs his money. The defendant thinks that just because she's family, she shouldn't have to pay him back. It's a very unfortunate situation that it has to come to this, a lawsuit. But hey, money is money, so he's suing for the $1,463.80 he's owed. This is the defendant, Nicole Wojcik. She says her mom offered to help her out by opening an account for some cell phones she needed. And everything was going fine until the plaintiff flipped out on her one day, yelling she owed him money. The guy disrespected her, spoke to her in a disgusting manner, and now he's destroyed their once happy family. Owe him money? No way. She's accused of phoning it in.
All parties, please raise your right hand. Be seated. Come to order, please. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Francis Jackson.
Yes.
You are suing Nicole, how do I pronounce your last name?
Wojcik.
Wojcik, for $1,463.80 in outstanding cell phone bills that you say she owes you and has refused to repay, correct?
Yes.
What's going on?
On August 28th, 2006, she approached me and asked me if I would open an account for her for her cell phone.
What is your relationship?
She's my daughter-in-law.
Daughter-in-law, okay.
Yes.
Who's the lady who's sitting there? Is that your mom?
Yes.
Okay. And who's the lady who's sitting with you?
This is my aunt.
Okay. Her sister?
No.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
It was fine for the first 4 or 5 bills. It got to a point where the bills were...
Why did she ask you to put the bill in her name? Why couldn't she put it in her own name? Like, I don't know.
I think she had bad credit.
Oh, you think?
Yes.
And how do you get bad credit?
By not paying things.
Okay, so go on.
So I did do her a favor. She said she would pay me back with no problem, but she wouldn't have any problems with it.
Okay.
It went on for a couple of years. It was fine. Then I got a bill in the mail from collections. It went to collections.
No, it doesn't go to a collection right away. Why didn't you get the other bills?
She had gotten my PIN number from my wife to go into the account. For what I understand was the bills were being sent directly to her house.
Who do you understand that from?
Because I wasn't getting no more bills.
Maybe your wife was siphoning them off so you wouldn't see them because they were piling up.
No, she wouldn't. She
wouldn't do that?
No.
Well, she's the one who gave her the PIN.
Yes,
let her change the address.
I understand that. The reason she gave her the PIN is because she wanted more features on the phone.
Okay. But she didn't tell you about giving her the PIN?
I did not know that.
Didn't you notice that the bills weren't coming? How were you going to make sure she was paying?
Yes, I did notice that they weren't coming, but I thought that it was my fault that I thought that she was making the payments on it.
Yeah, but how would you know? The reason you have the bills go to your house is so that you know if your credit's going to be ruined.
Yes, I understand that.
Okay,
yes.
so in any event, you find out how, because magically this time you do get the collections notice.
Yes.
All right, and when you get the collections notice, it's for how much?
$1,463.
Okay, but $1,463 included cancellation fees, because I've looked at the bills. Who canceled the phone?
They canceled it.
Did you guys cancel the phone?
No, when it wasn't being paid.
Who canceled it? The
AT&T.
Oh, you mean they being AT&T?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you find out about it. It's already at $1,400. And
Yes.
what do you do?
I called the defendant, and I talked to her a few times. Her mother has talked to her a few times.
What'd you say?
When you gonna pay me?
And how much after January of 2000? Was it January of 2008 or January of 2009? You get this bill when? Because I've looked at the bills, and the last bill's from 2009, right?
I have 08.
And what happened for the last 4 years? I'm just curious, because I'm in 2013 right now.
Well, I tried to get the money from her. I found out that she was going to Florida, taking her kids to Florida, Disney World. I sent her a kind of a little nasty message about how you doing that when you owe me the money.
But did the talk of the money come up in the last 4 years?
Yes.
How would it come up?
Well, that was one of the ways.
Well, that way's the bad way that was in the end.
There was no way of me contacting her except through my wife's cell phone.
So what would you do? You'd tell your wife, call her and ask her when she's paying us the money?
Yes, in a way, but I did not want them two to be fighting.
Look, were you trying to collect, or were you going to let it ride because it was your stepdaughter? Which is it?
No, I wasn't going to let it ride.
Okay, so throughout those 4 years, what effort did you make to collect?
Just a few times I texted her.
Did you guys see each other in 4 years?
No.
No family holidays? Nobody gets together? No. All right.
They do not speak no more because of this.
Yeah, but the no more part happened 4 years later. I'm trying to figure out what happened to those 4 years. That's what I'm trying to figure out, and why it took so long to get to this point. Are you telling me she didn't spend money on any trips in 4 years? The trip to Disney World is what made you mad. Did she come into money or something at the?
I don't know that.
Okay.
I don't know where she had gotten.
I'm just
the money
wondering
from.
why now. You're still within the statute of limitations. I'm just asking why now.
Because she just does not want to pay me for it. I tried to get the money from her, and she doesn't want to do it. And it came to a point where I just.
So that's what your tolerance level is, a whole 4 years? I guess so.
No.
What's going on?
No.
Stop. What's going on?
This goes back to roughly 2006, 2007. I know this because in 2008, I opened my own.
Did you ask your stepfather to put in his name a phone bill for you, your husband, and your daughter?
No.
So what happened?
I had spoke to my mom. I was leaving Verizon. I wanted to go to AT&T. AT&T wanted a $1,000 deposit because of my credit. My credit, however, at that point was ruined because I had a repossession for co-signing a car that my mother got repossessed. That she took several years. I think it was just within the past 2 years that it was clarified. With that being said, I did say to my mom, express frustration with not having $1,000, and I really wanted to go to AT&T rather than Verizon.
So did you put it in his name?
She offered to me that they would help.
And so you accepted?
I did accept.
Okay, so they put a phone in his name for you, and you don't dispute that you're responsible for this bill and its phone numbers, do you?
I don't feel I'm responsible. I spoke to my mom about this, and she tends to keep a lot from her husband. This is actually destroyed. I can't express that enough, the relationship that I've had with my mom. She has not seen me or my 3 beautiful daughters in the past 2.5 years, 3 times. They just stopped asking for her at this point. I didn't hear anything about this alpha. The last thing I ever heard was back in 2007, 8, whenever this was. A bill had come in. My mom was paying for it. She would pay for it just so I guess.
Why didn't you just stop using such an expensive phone?
But that's the thing. When a bill came in, my mom said, I don't have the money for this right now. And I said, well, I don't either. I had other financial obligations at the time.
I know, but then don't rack up a $400 cell phone bill.
But that's the thing. She said, well, then it's going to be turned off for non-payment. I said, I understand that.
By the time it got turned off, honey, it was $1,000-something. I mean, then just get a prepaid phone if you can't afford to make the phone calls.
I wasn't making the payments on it anyway, though.
So I guess it doesn't matter, right?
No,
I understand. What is your defense, that your mother was covering your payments, so she should have kept covering your payments?
No, not at all.
Were you supposed to pay your bills, or was your mother supposed to pay
My mom was paying them.
Well, no, I didn't ask who was paying them. I asked who was supposed to pay them.
To my understanding, it was my mother. I never made an agreement.
Really? Because according to you, the only reason it was under his name is because you couldn't come up with the $1,000 deposit. You were going to get your own phone. You were going to switch your own business. You were paying your own phone before, or not, because that's why you needed a $1,000 deposit. And so, you turned around and told your mother about it and accepted your mother's help so that you wouldn't have to pay the deposit. You never said to me, oh, and by the way, they're all in this grant. I can rack up $400 in cell phone bills a month, and they'll pay them all the time. Come on up, Mom. Were you paying the cell phone bills at one point?
For a couple months.
And when you did, what were they? How big were they?
$200, something like that.
Was it at the beginning or in the middle?
I think it was after the first one she did pay, then the second one I paid, third one I paid, fourth one I paid, and then I don't know what happened to them after that.
They probably piled up into what they became.
This was only a few months. As soon as that one bill came in, and my mom had said that she didn't have the money at the time, and I said I didn't either. She had explained that it would probably be disconnected. I understood.
I know, but who do you think is going to eat it? So it got disconnected, and the bill is now $1,400 with collection fees and everything else. Did you think that? I guess everybody just thought that AT&T would go away. I got to tell you, AT&T doesn't go away.
Yeah.
They don't stay in business by going away. Somebody's going to pay the piper. I just don't understand how it gets to 4 years later. Can I just ask you a question? Because your defense is, I didn't know. Nobody told me. I don't know. When is it your responsibility to cover your own bills?
Nobody, I didn't hear a word after that last conversation with my mom about
But why didn't you make it your business to hear a word? It's your phone.
Because my mother expressed to me that she would pay it, and I understand that. I didn't. I thought that she would either pay it, and the phone was just, they had called because everything was in their name. Everything
Why
was
was
sent
your
to their
mother
house.
going to pay your phone bills? That wasn't the original plan, because the original plan was you were just going to get your own phone and needed $1,000 deposit, didn't want to put it, and so they put it in his name so you wouldn't have to pay this big deposit. The original plan was never for her to pay your bills. She says you paid your first one, then you got into a little financial trouble, and then she was helping you out. Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is the agreement that I had with my mom is that my mom was taking care of that. So at the last bill,
why would your mom take care of that? Just answer that.
I really thought that she was helping me out, to be honest with you.
Are you the one who had the discussion with her, or did you have the discussions with your wife?
The three of us was there, and she came out. She gave me a hug and says, "No problem. I'll take care of the bill."
I have a question for you. Who was supposed to pay the bills?
Nicole.
Okay. I have to ask you that because I don't see how there could be any other confusion about that.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
Like I said, I hadn't heard anything at all. In 2009, my husband was injured at a wedding. He went through a whole legal process about it. In December of 2010, he was...
How was he injured at a wedding?
He was actually assaulted, and he had a jacket on. And when he was pushed, he went down to break his fall with the jacket. Doesn't have a lot of give. He ended up breaking his shoulder, and he has 2 screws in it.
Who was he pushed by?
A friend of the bride.
Another guest?
Yeah. So that we made.
So he sued who?
He actually sued the gentleman who assaulted him.
Oh, okay.
That was in December of 2010. We received our money in January of 2011. As soon as we received the money, I'd called my mom very excited that my husband was going to take myself and our 3 daughters to Disney. She was very excited for me. The very next day, I got a text message. Yeah. How dare I go to, I was floored because it was the first time I'd heard about it.
Okay, so now you hear about it, and you hear that a man wants you to pay your bills, right? And what is so unreasonable about that, though?
I said since that very next day that I got that message from him, please, I can't justify this crazy amount that you're explaining.
I'm looking at the bills, honey. You can see, you've never seen the bills?
I've never seen anything.
But there is none so blind as she who will not see. See, here's the thing. You're talking to me about, and there's a lot of pain in your voice. And I saw the text messages between you and your mom. There's a lot of pain with your mom, too. Your mom did not want to come out to court today. Okay? She didn't. She didn't. Because, you got to sit in the groom side or the bride side, and she didn't want to sit on a side. In fairness to your mom, I think I should tell you that. All right? But the problem is if she's a witness, and I got to hear from all the witnesses. And for short of my putting a chair in the middle, which maybe I should have done, I don't want you to think that because she walked out there, this is against you. But I got to tell you something. I know mother-daughter relationships are very complex. I have 3 daughters. Okay, and I saw a picture of your children that for some reason you submitted into evidence. They are beautiful.
Just Disney.
I can see why you submitted it because they're adorable. And I'm sure that it breaks her heart that this is strained between you guys. But number one, fix it. They're your bills. When you say, you wouldn't believe the effect this has had, you wouldn't believe how horrible this is, she never sees her grandchildren, like grandchildren stuff. Why? Because you didn't pay your bills, just pay your bills. And then we can put all this ugliness back. You don't have to like him. You can feel like, what kind of stepdad are you? You should have helped me out. You can feel whatever you want about him. But why are you punishing your mom who's caught in the middle? Why are you punishing your kids who want a grandma? Because what? Because she doesn't leave them over this problem where you don't pay your bills?
I'm not punishing anybody.
Well, why don't you encourage then the relationship between your children and your mom?
I have several times. I've spoken to her. And I said, if you feel as though me and my husband owe you whatever amount that you think that we owe you, do my children owe you that money? You still have... I've tried. Nick, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I know this phone call was coming. I'm going to try more. I'm going to try harder. And it just...
I have a question. Is she right?
Welcome back to the People's Court. Harvey Levin here. So the question, would you sue a relative who stiffed you? Huh?
I don't speak language.
Oh, you don't speak English? I'll take that as a maybe. What do you think?
I would say no.
Why?
Well, because it would cause way too many family problems.
Well, how about this for family problems? Somebody stiffed you.
It all depends on the how much money he owed.
Oh, does it really?
Yes, it does.
$1,000.
Yes, I would.
500.
No, not 500.
Close though.
Close.
750.
750.
Okay, real quick.
I would sue him.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
They disrespected you. Why not take him to court?
That's right.
There you go, going inside the courtroom.
Yeah, she is right, but she also has the 3 girls all in cheerleading all different days of the week, and it's very hard for me to see them because they're cheerleading to 7, 8 o'clock at night, and it's just
figure it out.
It's
Make
a
an
45-minute
effort.
ride to her house.
Yeah, all right, you both got to make an effort. Your children are more enriched with grandparents than they are without grandparents. Even if the effort is just once a month, they're not in cheerleading on Sunday. Make an effort. Figure it out.
Every time
Figure it
I
out.
try
And if
to
you two
make
don't want to
plans,
be in the
she-
same room, don't be. So what? There's lots of places you guys can meet that have nothing to do with him. He doesn't need to come. 45 minutes is not that far. This is a very sad discussion, and I hope that the two of you, and especially you, sounding by the admission you just made, make an effort to be a grandmother. I don't know that it doesn't sound like it even has anything to do with this. I'm not sure it does. I just think that she's just not up to this task of, working around children's schedules, which parents get used to. But, this is not, I'm sure that did your parents work around your schedule? Or did you work around your parents' schedule? Because I can certainly answer that at my house. I know that if my mother had to go to the beauty parlor, I had to sit there bored for 3 hours. Okay? And now I worked around my parents' schedule. Now I have children. I work around my children's schedule. When's my turn? We're used to it because this is this generation, but that generation isn't necessarily. But you got to make an effort. It has nothing to do with the case in front of me, but I find it heartbreaking because there is nothing more delicious than when I'm in a room with my 3 daughters and the 2 grandmothers and the mother. And there's all these women and there's all this woman love and mother love. And it's an important part of a child's life. And you love your children. So even if it's not perfect, if it's not, I'm knitting them baby booties perfect, it's still better than not existent. All right? Try. And you need to try. You need to try because it shouldn't get this far in a family. But I don't know that it's any one person's fault it got this far. I think that he can afford the hit, and that's why he never did anything or said anything in all this time. It was just one thing that made him snap, that you got into money and then you were spending it in Disney World, and he kind of felt that was disrespectful. It wasn't really the money, it was the disrespect that he made him snap and couldn't handle, and then things go bad. And I understand that sentiment. I've kind of felt that disrespect before, and so I understand the sentiment. Sometimes in life, you just kind of suck it up because there's too many other people who get hurt. That was not what he chose to do, and I understand why you're angry. But do you understand why he's right? So I would have loved to have seen this not get here, and I would have loved to have seen some effort to pay a little bit at a time. I would have loved to have seen something other than 3-4 years pass, him snapping because you're giving your children the pleasure of Disney World, and then this relationship deteriorating the way it did. In any event, I have one thing left to do, which is actually rule and stop lecturing you. I find in favor of the plaintiff in this case in the amount of the $1,463.80, which is going to be paid directly to AT&T to get this out of everybody's way. All right? That's my order.
Thank you.
And so the bill gets paid this way. It's the hard way for you. And
That it's over.
well, what do the tears mean? Yeah.
It's been a lot. It's been a long time.
This is what came between you and your mom, right? This is the big barrier. It's moved out of the way. Is this your opportunity to get it back together and get the grant? I'm asking her, not you.
No, it's.
Why not?
This is because it's not just about this phone bill.
Really?
It's not.
Don't you want grandma in the lives of the kids? And
I've given her a lot of different times.
you're not closing the door on her, are you?
At this point, I am.
All right. Head right down this way. Okay. Come on over here. Step on in here and tell me, one of you come on in. You satisfied how this, well, at least the bill is paid, but what's the price?
Well, it's different for her than me.
Okay, let me ask you that question.
The price is dear, and I think she'll come around sooner or later. After she has time to think about it more.
Right. Will you step forward, make more of an effort, and get this bridge crossed?
Absolutely.
Because that is your daughter, right?
Yes.
It means everything, right?
Yeah.
You understand that too,
Yes,
right?
yes.
You behind her 100%
Yes,
in
I'm
her
sorry
effort?
it came to this point, yes.
Okay. Harvey?
Okay, you know, it is such a bad idea to put somebody else's name on your phone bill because they have bad credit. I don't care if it's a relative. It's a bad idea. That will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.